Hey, did you make it through May? Did you know that eclipse season is over until October? I hope you all survived it with little damage and with many healthy, happy changes in your lives. And did you all watch the coronation? Have to admit, I got up early so I could see it live. Hey everybody, this is Astrology for June 2023, and I'm Colleen Pearl, your astrologer. Welcome to my channel. Now, June brings up a couple of powerful lunations that bring us down to earth, even though we want to celebrate and party right now. After all the shenanigans with the eclipses of April and May, June may feel like a bit of a come down and also a welcome relief from all the tension and difficulties of the aforementioned eclipses coupled with Mercury retrograde. But don't kid yourself. There are times this month when the emotional intensity may feel overwhelming and too controlling for you. In addition, we have two large planets that have been slowing down in preparation for their retrograde motions. You may be sensitive to this drop in speed, which will probably bring unexpected consequences. Let's talk about the planetary ingresses for June. On June 5th, Venus enters Leo, the showy, dramatic, very, very yellow and gold sign of Leo. This is where Venus loves to be very dramatic in love, fall deeply and love deeply, and shower her paramour with gifts. Or she loves to be showered with gifts from her paramour. On the 11th, Mercury will enter the very chatty sign of Gemini, and you will notice that conversations just speed up, literally speed up. Plus, they will begin to cover a wider variety of topics than we had in the previous sign. On the 21st, we have the summer solstice when the sun enters Cancer. That's always a lovely time of year. I just love the summer solstice. I love all the energy there. And on June 26th, Mercury will enter the sign of Cancer, literally 2 weeks after it entered Gemini. So this bad boy is really speeding around the zodiac. That's a record for Mercury. All of this spells summer, happiness, and celebrations. After the retrogrades, we will discuss the aspects week by week. Now, Pluto is already retrograde. Pluto went retrograde at the very beginning of May. And on June 11th, Pluto will back up into the sign of Capricorn, where he had stayed for about 20 years, and for the last 5 years has been hovering around the natal position of the U.S. Pluto, which is why we have been uncovering and revealing inadequacies in many, many entities around our country, including governmental and corporate entities, as well as revealing lots and lots of corruption in all of our agencies, both private and public. On June 17th, Saturn will station retrograde. Now, this is one of the giants that I was talking about that's beginning to slow down. Saturn's going to slow down as it retrogrades, and that's going to cause some people to feel like things are coming to a halt surrounding topics that concern the sign of Pisces. So that would be charitable organizations and artistic pursuits and things having to do with dreams and fantasy. Also things having to do with the feet. Pisces rules the feet. It is the sign of fishes and the ocean and water and things like that. So we may find some legislation or things that had to do with improving our waterways comes not to a halt, but just kind of slows down, just kind of goes to sleep. On June 30th, we have Neptune stationing retrograde as well, also in the sign of Pisces. So this big gas giant is going to cause even further kind of slow down or going to sleep with things having to do with more Pisces topics like the subconscious, psychoanalysis, dreams, fantasy, charitable giving, artistic pursuits, especially fantasy artistic pursuits like video games and things like that. Some of those projects are just really going to not grind to a halt. This isn't a Mercury retrograde, but things will slow down. They won't seem so impactful when these bigger planets go to sleep. Then on May 29th through the June 4th, that's our first actual week that we're going to talk about for June. We have a few aspects. We have the Sun squaring Saturn on the 29th, on the last day of the Memorial Day weekend. On June 2nd, we have Venus trine Neptune. That's part of that big water trine that I spoke about. On June 4th, we have a full moon in Sagittarius. And also on June 4th, we have Mercury conjuncting Uranus. On Memorial Day weekend, things will feel happy and very festive. Try to continue this happy vibe into the work week, even if you have to work on Monday. When the Sun squares Saturn, this will give you fortitude to finish what you start, color within the lines, follow all the rules, and stay the course for whatever you're working on. On Friday, June 2nd, just a few days prior to the full moon, we have that grand water trine between Neptune, Venus, and the moon in Scorpio. This is a wonderful time for healing and socializing. So do your healing rituals right on Friday for whatever ails you, and then go out. Now, the week may become a little hectic, so don't overschedule yourself prior to the full moon, which occurs very early Sunday morning. On June 4th, we have the full moon in Sag. This is a fairly easy full moon. There will be obvious taking of sides between people, but nothing that leads to anything more than a heated debate. None of the planets involved with this full moon are particularly strong, except for Neptune, which will be laying a dreamy fog over the whole thing. I feel there will be a lot of lively social events around this lunation, and as I previously stated, there could be some differences of opinion along the way, but it feels like this moon is kind of a breather in between all the other stuff that's going on. After the dramatic activity from the eclipses, it's kind of nice to kick back and relax. This full moon has plenty of planetary action to it, but all in all, it will be one of the calmer lunations of 2023. The full moon in Sagittarius usually gives us party vibes. We're ready for things to be finished, such as school, and many of us still vibrate to that school calendar and wait for celebrations to begin. It's interesting that the full moon in Sag gives us parties, and the new moon, when both the sun and the moon are in Sag, gives us holidays in the winter. Sag just loves a good party. The pull between the sun and the moon at the time of the full moon always cause some conflict within us and our families. The moon is what pulls us towards the family, and the sun keeps us looking outside the family circle for more acknowledgement of our talents. With Sag and Gemini, it always sounds too good to be true, and therein lies the rub. You can't have everything big all the time without a little downtime and without a little backlash or response to that out there energy. It just cannot be sustained. This could be a difficult moon, one that has a predilection to huge power trips, moves between warring countries or warring entities that cause us to wonder what will become of ourselves or our family, our town, our state, our country. And there may be more than a few casualties. So take care, love yourself and your family, and take it easy during this lunation. Now, if you want more information on the full moon, as well as predictions for your rising sign, please watch my full moon video, which is up on my channel now. Now let's move on to the second week to talk about, June 5th through June 11th. This is when we have Venus opposite Pluto, Mercury conjunct Uranus. On June 9th, we will have Mercury sextile Neptune. On the 10th, we'll have Venus squaring Jupiter, and on the 11th, we'll have Mercury trine Pluto. A T-square is forming up at this time between Venus and Mars in Leo, Jupiter in Taurus, and Pluto in Aquarius, which will be fully formed by the 10th. Also, Mercury conjunct Uranus adds to the fixed nature of this week. This stubborn energy leaves some wondering, what's the point? You can't move an immovable object, which is what this T-square represents. However, there is hope. If you can allow the stick-in-the-muds to think that they are getting their way until Friday, June 9th, when Mercury sextiles Neptune, you may survive unscathed. During this walking on eggshells period, keep your head down and don't give anyone a reason to argue with you. That's June 11th, Mercury trining Pluto and Venus squaring Jupiter. Sunday will be another emotionally hot day, so be sure to make the most of Friday and Saturday this weekend. On June 11th, Pluto will return to Capricorn on Sunday, which further aggravates the intense, headstrong, fixed sign behavior that all the T-squares have been activating for the last couple of weeks. The next week, June 12th through the 18th, we have Mercury squaring Saturn, Jupiter sextile Saturn, which lasts into July. That's a long-lasting aspect. Then on the 17th, we have Mercury sextile Venus. On the 18th, we have the Sun square Neptune with continuing Mercury sextile Venus and Jupiter sextile Saturn. On Monday, we have a lingering T-square energy with Venus square Jupiter taking precedence. This will be a day when everyone is willing to play ball, display a confident can-do attitude, and generally feels like they're in control and want to get along. Otherwise, this week continues our theme of emotional intensity. So try to avoid any confrontations or tricky conversations, especially on Wednesday. Like last week, you want to tune your radar towards the end of the week. Friday the 17th will come in like sunshine after the rain, issuing positivity and nurturing vibes. On the 17th, Mercury will sextile Venus and Jupiter will sextile Saturn. Saturday is also a romantic day, especially good for dating. On the 18th, Sun square Neptune and continuing Mercury sextile Venus, Jupiter sextile Saturn. And on Sunday, we have the Cancer moon trining Saturn in Pisces, representing the father for Father's Day. This will be a very moving and emotional day. It may be difficult to get things done this week, especially in the earlier part, but later on, productivity increases. Before the sun comes up on Father's Day, we have a new moon in Gemini squaring Neptune in Pisces, and as she moves into Cancer, right about the time you're starting up the grill, she will square Neptune and trine Saturn, making this a great day to get out of the garden and finish some arduous chores with the family. New moon in Cancer occurs on June 18th, very early in the morning at 12:36 a.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. The next week, June 19th through the 25th, we have on the 19th, Jupiter sextile Saturn, which is still in effect. We have the Sun square Neptune, which will last for about a week. Then we have the summer solstice on June 21st, along with Mercury sextile Mars. And on the 25th, we have Mercury squaring Neptune. Now, for June 19th, for Juneteenth, we have the Sun square Neptune and Jupiter sextile Saturn. Sounds familiar, right? Juneteenth kicks off with a harmonious sextile between Jupiter and Saturn, a perfect representation of that holiday. Jupiter brings the liberation so sorely needed in our country, and Saturn brings about the laws and constructs that can turn this into manifest reality of freedom. So hopeful. The week segues from the freewheeling's freedom of Monday into Tuesday, and on Wednesday we still feel like socializing and networking. On June 21st, we have Mercury sextile Mars and Jupiter sextile Saturn still. Let's get something done with all this togetherness stuff. Wednesday marks the summer solstice, when we mark the midway point between the light and dark of the year. The longest day will show us how the sun manages our atmosphere and reminds us that even though we think summer's just begun, it is a midway point, and the darkness is creeping up on us. Make the most of these summer days, for they won't last forever. Here we are on the 21st with the summer solstice. This Thursday gives us Mars kicking up the energy to the next level to help provide the follow-through that we need. Sunday may leave you feeling mentally exhausted, drained, or confused. Now, June 26th through July 2nd. On the 26th, Mars square Uranus. On the 28th, the Sun trine Saturn. On the 30th, the Sun conjunct Mercury. And also on the 30th, the Sun and Mercury sextile Jupiter and trine the Saturn and Moon. And on July 1st, Venus will square Uranus. On June 26th, this week starts with headlong bursts of energy, which could result in accidents or mishaps at work. Tuesday is your day for managing the schedule, so set up a date for the weekend. That's when Sun will trine Saturn. Wednesday has a very productive quality to it, helping to get everything organized and finished without breaking a sweat. On Friday, June 30th, there's a grand water trine between the Sun, which is conjunct Mercury, Saturn in Pisces, and the Moon. This comes from a very nice lunar grand trine between Sun, Moon, Saturn, and Mercury. Teamwork and group problem solving are happening now. Huddle up with friends and you can tackle anything, but make it an early night because that enervating energy from last weekend may still linger. July 1st has good vibes and good energy for socializing, but Sunday, July 2nd, has a rather unstable energy. So that's what we have for June's astrology. Big news with all the T-squares, a beautiful grand water trine, and lots of back and forth energy throughout. Take note of when to act and when to hold back and have a wonderful month. Be sure to watch my full moon in Sag video for predictions for all the signs during this beautiful, fun, but difficult lunation. Don't miss. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and I will see you next time.